Hey everybody, welcome to the Funhaus Podcast. I'm Armando Torres, and today I'm joined by three wonderful friends. We've got Lindsay Washburn.
Hi.
We've got Charlotte McGrath.
Hello.
And we've got Elise Willems.
Hey, y'all.
Looking good for 89.
Yeah.
1947.
Ooh, yeah. Pearl Harbor, I don't know her.
I do the that Korean beauty technique that's called slugging, where you just put Vaseline all over your face.
I thought you were going to say when you make 3,000 cakes. That was the name of your team, wasn't it? I appreciated that. That was...
Korean bakery ASMR 10 hours.
That's right.
I was like, what do the three of us have in common that we love?
That's from our drunk Switch stream.
Yeah.
Those
you.
were early back in the office days when we were watching those.
I'll put it on the TV and we all sit around and watch it.
Yeah, no one had a desk. We would just
You
come in.
invited us here, so this is going.
No, I'm just remembering. So when I first started working here, you all would put on those Korean baking
In that room
ASMR
on the
ones.
TV.
And now that I work here, they put on like basketball and
It's only
fights.
basketball.
That's Rick.
in the-
Rick's
That's
doing
all
it.
Rick.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's only basketball, baby.
It's not only basketball. One time I came here and we were watching some kind of, what was that movie where they go through the levels of the house and
You're
progress?
talking about the raid.
The Raid. Yeah.
Oh, the
yeah.
Raid is-
I just started the Raid 2 the other night.
Very different.
Very complicated,
Is
but
there not a
very
raid?
good. It's
the
way too
aftermath.
complex.
Yeah.
Like the intro is like, Ramu, I need you to do this, and it's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Who's rating who? Rate us 5 stars. On,
Raid 2
on
is-
podcast apps. Yeah,
Oh, Raid is
2.
great.
Raid
Oh,
2.
rate us is what you're
Raid.
saying.
Yeah, rate us.
Ah, gotcha. I just watched the new Scream movie on a plane when I was coming back from Austin. I talked to you a little bit about this as I fucked up my flight and I had to go from Austin to Dallas, from Dallas to Chicago, from Chicago to LAX. And I had 3 different kind of pizzas in that day. In Dallas,
dish.
in Dallas, I had
Classic Dallas
Detroit
pizza.
style.
classic Dallas flatbread prosciutto. Fucking it was so good, Mamma Mia.
It's an inland pizza.
And the glass of wine, baby. And then in Chicago, I had the Bears deep dish
Pizza
pizza.
soup.
Yeah.
There's,
yeah.
And then
And then I came home to LA and I put a pizza in my oven and I ate it while crying.
that's LA style, baby.
LA, baby.
That's Hollywood, actually.
Yeah.
It's not delivery, it's depression.
It's not.
It's Depressio.
Yeah.
It's depressed.
I
Yeah.
ate an oven pizza while crying about how I don't know if I can afford rent anymore. And,
Pizza.
Oh. In Canada, it's Delicio, not DiGiorno. So
Oh.
the commercials are all like, it's not delivery, it's Delicio.
It's
And then
not
I was like,
Delicio, it's DiGiorno.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck is DiGiorno?
I have a friend named, a comic friend named Dante Cordova, who I just watched. We just did a show together, and he did a joke about Little Caesars, about how like they're the only company that won't give any kind of food description to their food. Like even their like Papa John's is better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's, and Little Caesars is like
pizza.
Pizza.
I thought it was not technically pizza. Like how Subway bread cannot be
Yoga
classified as
cake.
bread in Ireland. It's cake because of
Yeah.
the sugar.
Where is this conversation going?
I don't know where it's
It's
going.
not you. It's all of us.
It's all
It's
of
kind
us.
of morbid if you think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very creepy.
Yeah, I could go on for 30 minutes about this.
Yeah. Elise, you are a fan of my true crime podcast, right?
I am. I love talking about cults. I love listening to stories about cults, recounting just the depths that these depraved lunatics will go to bring others into their twisted web.
Like having them on their show.
Yeah.
I like it too when the name there's no puns, there's no wordplay. You know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Cult podcast.
Oh, okay.
Pizza. This Little Caesars of audio.
Well, here's the thing. You
Yes.
come to Cold Podcast, you go, I want true crime. And I go, this one is hot and ready. It's there.
Yeah, in
It's
Canada,
not good.
We do have a chain in Canada, a popular pizza chain called Pizza Pizza.
I thought you were saying it's called Popular Pizza.
Popular pizza.
I went to a Little Caesars once and the pizza was neither hot nor I was like, can I get too hot and ready? So they're like, no problem, it'll be 10 minutes. And I was like,
And it's going to be lukewarm.
Yeah.
it's gonna be just
gonna
as
be
bad
room
as it
temp.
would have been if it were hot and ready.
No, at least clearly, the reason you're here is because you work with Charlotte, who has an amazing true crime show called Ship Hits the Fan.
Not
Yeah.
we don't work with each other on the shows.
No.
We
No,
work with
no,
each
no.
other and do
Islands
our shows.
in the sun.
Yeah, do shows
it's
separately.
2 ships in the night.
Yeah.
Now that's a nod to my podcast.
Yes, and the night being mine because it's dark and we cover a lot of dark subject
A
matter.
lot of morbidity in the dark of night.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. At least you run 30 Morbid Minutes.
I do.
Fuck.
There's the
do.
shirt.
Number one fan. Number one
That
fan.
one's Elise.
Lindsay is our prime. She's a woman in her 30s,
Yeah.
white woman, a lot of fear
Fill
for
me with
society. She's exactly who we want to target.
See, a woman in her 20s likes maritime horror.
Yes.
That of the sea. I got a couple years, and then soon I'll probably want to return to land, you know, to solid ground beneath my little toes.
I
we
like
really-
that one too. I like them both.
We've got a pipeline of like they flow through us
Yeah.
eventually because ours is like older 30s, mid 40s is like our prime.
That's your demographic.
Demographic
Yeah.
for cult podcasts. So they start in the sea, they go to 30 Morbid Minutes, and then they come to us.
Yeah, they say we start on the ship, and then we talk about like the situation of the ship, and then you guys ask the question of why the hell did they get
Why
on that
ship?
ship?
Why ship?
Yeah,
Why do we need ship? Well,
Why ship?
I love the concept of 30 Morbid Minutes being a show for somebody who's like, I gotta have my true crime, but I also got other shit I gotta do.
yes.
I need it now. I
absolutely.
need it quick.
Well, when I originally pitched it, it was 60 Morbid Minutes, as in like 60 minutes,
Yeah.
the show. And then I started working on it, and I just thought this will be better in a 30-minute format. And then thankfully people thought that it still worked as 30 Morbid Minutes. But I guess we should tell people what we're talking about in case they're not familiar with
Yeah.
any of these podcasts. So
So we three, and then Lindsay is here, run true crime shows.
I'm on the Funhaus Podcast right now.
Yeah.
And you've got the Cult Podcast. And you've got 30 Morbid Minutes. And you have Ship
Serial.
Hits the Fan.
Ship Hits the Fan.
And just
Yeah.
wait for my podcast, baby. No, I'm just kidding. This is about 30 Morbid Minutes.
if you did a podcast that was like the dark side of reality TV, I would listen to the shit out of it.
That'd be
Absolutely.
so much research.
It'd be a lot of research, but that I think you could find a team and you could do it, and you would be so entertaining
If you
to
did
listen to.
If you did a podcast that was just any side of reality TV, I would listen to it because I love people talking shit about how crazy Love Island is.
Well, the dark side, that people like true crime.
Yeah.
That's why people love the Dark Side of the Ring, the wrestling series.
and the
like,
dark side
yeah.
of the moon.
90s. There's a show called The Dark Side of the 90s
Oh.
too.
Dark Side, that's a villain in the DC universe.
Oh, Donnie Darko.
Is Charlotte? It is.
This is half of true crime podcasting is just word association. You host 30 Morbid Minutes. You came up with the idea on your own?
Yeah, it was something that I had just in my pocket, in my notepad doc of like, I just write things down, and I was like, I think this would be a great concept. I am a person that likes horror, the macabre, mystery. I think sometimes true crime, while I do listen to true crime, I'm not like a true crime junkie where I listen to everything. But
Shouts out to True Crime
I-
Junkie, a different true
Yeah.
crime show.
And like you would say Halloween is your favorite holiday.
Absolutely.
Like you're not a Christmas girl.
No.
She's a
number
Halloween
one
gal.
and you're kind of more of a Christmas gal.
I love Christmas. I do love Halloween, but the
Arbor
dark
Day,
side
bitch.
of Christmas.
And
Dark Side of Christmas.
I also really love history. And so I think the thing about our podcast, which is an exploration of morbid, macabre topics, people, places, things, events throughout history and the headlines of today, it crosses all these kind of barriers. And while we cover morbid topics, we try not to make it too salacious or sensationalize. And we're really trying to get to the root of like, what is the history behind this? If it's something that branches into supernatural territory, what is the possible scientific explanation for this? And if it's happening today, what's the contemporary comparison? So like, for example, we have an episode where we cover grave robbing, and we talk about grave robbing throughout the ages, but then we also touch on obituary bandits, which is a very real thing that happens today, where people scan the obituaries and they find out when someone's funeral is happening, and then they either go rob the house of the deceased, or they go rob the house of their family while they're out mourning. And so it's like, it's an inverted grave robbing, so
Yeah.
to speak. It's like not robbing the grave directly, but still
Taking the opportunity and taking advantage of a death.
absolutely.
This is the episode I listened to yesterday
did you?
on my drive. I listened to one from each, and you were saying like it was 60 morbid minutes, but it's better as 30. But I was listening to it, and I think that episode's about 40 minutes long. But I was
yeah.
like, where's the rest of this episode?
Oh, we
'Cause you're
budget.
like, we're out of time, and I'm like, no.
And my co-host and like wonderful comrade is Jessica Vasami, who is just a delight to.
Yeah.
But she's also a little. She's
She's a little scaredy cat. I've noticed. She's like,
Yeah.
no. You're like, sorry. And I'm like, scare her.
Scare me. Yeah.
I think that is the fun dynamic, and I didn't really realize. I knew that Jess had some hangups with scarier things, but I didn't really realize how we would fall so into those roles of her also being a believer and me being a little bit of a skeptic too, which I don't know if like on Ship Hits.
I don't believe in the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I fulfill that role.
you're a flat earther and
Yes. Yeah, but just Earth.
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, like, do you find that with you and Patrick that one of you tends to like be the one that gets a little bit more creeped out by the scenarios that you're covering? Patrick's a pretty
Unshakable.
yes,
The unsinkable Patrick Brown. Yes, exactly.
You can shake him pretty easily. He's very light.
Yeah, but he always springs back up.
Yeah.
He's like a car antenna. But no, I mean like we kind of like just trade off because we like do like one person will be like driving and the other will kind of like comment on it. But I think it's a lot less. It's less spooky. Like it's not as creepy. Like there can be eerie and tragic and like bone shaking twists and turns and but it's more often than not if we're like reacting to something earnestly, it's more out of sadness because a lot of it is human error and it's not necessarily like we've covered some things that are a little more mysterious and a little bit more scary, but a lot of the time it's either just the sheer godlike forces of nature, or it is a pompous and arrogant captain that has forsaken their crew, their passengers, and their ship.
Costa Concordia.
I think what was I just thinking of? Oh my goodness, we just covered a ship, the Oceanus, where the captain just completely had a mental breakdown and some of the crew left before they never even announced an evacuation. They just let people fend for themselves, and the ship's entertainers had to orchestrate the rescue. But like
Orchestrate.
that, yeah,
It's fun.
wow, I did that. I said that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's less to get scared about. It's more just like, damn, that sucks.
There is the possibility, right, that you guys would cover like kind of like. Because there's all kinds of spooky stuff with like ships, like ghost ships and the Queen Mary and like.
Queen Mary's.
I know it's about shipwrecks, but I'm sure a lot of shipwrecks have like creepy stories. Too.
Definitely, yeah, especially with our like seasonal. Oops.
That could be one now.
Whoa. I have to take my
I'm on the
pills.
boat. Somebody's calling you from the boat.
Well, that's been our 30 morbid minutes. And
Fortunately.
Cover the SS. I don't know whatever the hell. Our like between season episodes got a little ghostly. Elise even helped us out on one. I called her and she helped us with the pronunciation of Le Chascalerie.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oui, c'est ça.
Yeah. C'est ça.
we over on Cult Podcast obviously cover cults, which the ones worth covering for the most part, real sad. And so we have a tendency to also, one thing that I'm jealous of your show for is that our episodes are a little over an hour. And back in the day, we were recording like 2-hour episodes. Them shits were as long as hell. And we have a tendency to front load the first episode in a series or the first half of an episode with all of the like, here's some fun history, here's some facts you didn't know. Like, for example, we were covering 7M Films on this last episode, which is like a TikTok dance group. And so we were like, here's the history of crumping, where it started because this guy in Compton dressed up like a clown, and then he danced like a clown, and they called it clowning. And then this other guy did it, but more aggressive, and it was crumping. And then later in the episode...
that is a clown that is turned aggressive.
Yeah. Crumping, by the way, is a dance style in which you dance as if you are trying to punish the ground for existing. And then later in the episode, after we've had all the fun, we just have to be like, and that's when tie-dyes took financial control of everyone, and these people were not allowed to see their families anymore and may have been forced into relationships that they were not willingly wanting to go into, and you're just like breaking your brain. It fucking sucks. So it's less scary, but you will... I've been doing a true crime show for a little over 5 years now. Every single week we have like 225 episodes plus all the bonus episodes and all that other shit.
We have 13.
You will break your fucking brain, even if it's not scary. You just like, humanity is awful, and it's caused me to... I've had like panic attacks and like a mental break just reading about like, because you don't like... Children of God and seeing what humanity is capable of just to each other without supernatural is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I guess you touched on it a little bit, where you cover a lot of topics that are heavy, or it's someone's personal life. Like it's a real person that died or was affected. And how do you both reconcile that? Because for 30 Morbid Minutes, sometimes it's a little bit easier. For example, if we're covering something that happened in Victorian England and it's the 19th century and it happened 120 years ago, there's that distance between it where you are talking about real people's tragedy and death, but it doesn't feel as immediate. You don't have colored photos of this person. Whereas when we covered our death on Mount Everest episode, it's like, there are real people up on that mountain.
But they're
still
in black and white, so they don't matter.
There's no color
Well,
at that altitude.
their families are still alive and can comment on it. Like, how does that feel for you both? I guess, sorry, and to Lindsay after that, like as a listener, how does that feel?
Well,
too?
I was just gonna say I listened to an episode of yours yesterday as well about Titanic, and you said that you and Patrick have a 100-year rule or something.
I was just about to say, yeah, we have the 100-year rule, which...
You're welcome. Go ahead, talk about your 100-year rule.
What a wonderful segue. You're the best, Lindsay. But you're not wearing a shirt for my podcast.
Find my hoodie.
She's got her ship hits tattoo that no one can see.
I would get a ship hits tattoo if we had a long enough run. Gladly. But I
Ship hits the fanny.
Oh my god.
It's on my butt.
I got it in a different place because I got mine in England.
I'll get ship hips the fanny.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of my butthole. Shit. You'll just say shit.
Shit.
We had a joke on Inside Gaming. I don't remember where it came from, but it was the idea of someone getting Brian's name tattooed around their asshole, just like BRIAN, right there on it. Brian, one of the hosts of Ship Hits the Fan, producer, does amazing research for us. But yeah, we have the 100-year rule, which is like, if it's under 100 years, we're going to approach it with more tact. Because, often, most of the time in the shipwrecks we cover, there are casualties. Sometimes you cut it a little close. So our first episode was the Eastland disaster that happened in 1915. That was 107 years ago. And we're us. I would say there's a certain irreverence to the three of us getting together, which I think people weren't expecting. And I saw an Apple review that it was very off-put. They didn't like the first episode, and then they kept listening, and they said that we got better. I think that they may have gotten used to it.
Conditioned, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can. I don't think we conditioned them. I immediately went to yeah. But I think what people thought is that we were like poking fun at this tragedy, and I think there is an aspect of like goofing off and poking fun, but kind of at like the sheer randomness and like horror of a situation where the only option you really have to do is like take a step back and like lighten the mood. And it was about a ship where a lot of people drowned in 20 feet of water because it just turned over. And that was human error. So like we have the 100-year rule, and like sometimes we'll have something that was a little more recent, like the Doña Paz, which happened in the Philippines and was like That one was really gruesome, and it wasn't people working. It was a passenger ferry that was overcrowded. So like that one, like we put a content warning. We left off the silly intro, and like it's it's a case by case basis. But like it's definitely like threading a needle sometimes, because some of the most spectacular stories you'll have a low death count, but that's still 30 real people that have died, and like it's we have to we recognize it and we approach it with an air of like I guess sincerity, but it's kind of strange. It's very different than anything else I've ever done in my career, and that I have to think about that. But
I would say for me, alcoholism is taking a toll, but helps a lot. No, I try not to anymore. But yeah, we do this weird thing where like we cover cults, and so
Cult Podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if you could put that together, but we cover cults, which almost always have a very singular person responsible, and so we tend to really shit on them. Sometimes people within the cults will do things that are goofy, and we sort of like dunk on them for doing some dumb, goofy shit. But for the most part, we really only try to reserve our like shitting on people or making jokes about the people that are responsible, and sort of making them look like shit. Although there is like, the one thing that we always try to do is like, people are people. And so sometimes if somebody does something really dumb, you can make fun of them because they were in that moment dumb. But one thing that we really try to drive home is that like anyone can join a cult. Like cults are more than just what you would assume. Like they're not all like Jim Jones. Like we've covered the Latin Kings, who are a gang that is mixed with Catholicism, and the way that they recruit people is, back in the day, they went to places that weren't allowing brown immigrants to cross color lines to go to church. And the Catholic Church wouldn't allow brown people who spoke Spanish to open up their own church because white people fucking in charge of shit are terrible. And they assumed speaking God in Spanish or whatever would ruin it. So they didn't allow us to go to church.
That's so fucking... It's just crazy. It's the same religion that wouldn't let services be spoken in English for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like English wasn't
Needs
worthy.
to be Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The priest would
there's
even
nothing
face
more...
the congregation because they weren't worthy.
We're Latin.
Yeah.
Like, let us do it.
It's like, bring it all the way back around. Yeah. Bring it to the Romance languages. It's too Germanic.
Oh yeah, it's romantic as hell. But
damn Jesus.
Yeah.
You turn water into fire. But they they would recruit people, by preaching Catholicism, but then mixing Catholicism with like gang shit, which sounds ridiculous, but it makes sense for
the apostles.
Yeah.
They were the original gang.
The original gang.
Yeah. And so
His
like
day ones.
it's fun to make fun of it, but you always have to like remember that like everyone's part of some kind of cult-like mentality in one way or another. And also seeing the way that cults do this really kind of like makes you a little jaded, where like, I know this is going to sound like, ooh, look at me, but like before doing Cult Podcast, I used to be very like, I'm a Democrat and I always vote for my party. And
and
now
you're a Republican now.
Yeah, staunchly.
Yeah, you're a severe conservative.
Because that's what no one ever talks about.
Well, he's fiscally social.
Yeah.
No.
No. I'm a fiscal Democrat, but a social Republican.
Yeah. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
But like, I can't, any one group, any person that like belongs to any group, or any group that tries to like tell you what to do, I just can't take seriously anymore, and just don't like. And also everything's terrible, and you realize like everything comes from bullshit.
Or a personal motivation or want. I share a similar opinion to you that I think you should punch up. And obviously somebody is a horrible person throughout history or today, like they are fair game.
Yeah.
They put that target on themselves. I'm writing an episode right now about Vlad the Impaler, who like the name,
What did he do?
obviously. Well, what didn't he do is kind of the question. And
Leave
so in that
people
episode,
alive, it sounds like.
we're going to be goofing on Vlad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we've covered Nazis and the Confederacy a couple times.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
God.
all right, cool. We give free
Yeah, they
reign.
earned it. They earned it. They deserve it. Yeah.
So one thing too on that sucks is that you really have to, when you open up a story and see shit like Charles Manson is the worst, one of the worst, most famous like cult leaders of all time. And then you hear about his childhood where he's just like, no one loved him, cared about him. They sent him to like this awful place where he just got like assaulted and beat to shit all the time. And it's like, well, you start to sort of relate to it or like, this sucks. But I was reading about Timothy McVeigh being sent to war, and he saw what America did to foreign countries, and just like he talks about like the people in the countries he was fighting were just like dads, and they were like trying to throw their weapons down, and he watched his other soldiers like shoot them and like run them over with tanks and just do awful stuff. And so you start to see like why they have the thoughts that they have. And you want to dunk on them for being so stupid and so awful, but then you're just like, oh, fuck.
Timothy McVeigh,
Sure.
the Oklahoma City bomber.
Yeah.
Correct? Just
Yeah.
want to clarify that.
Who is, again, a total piece of shit in every possible way. But you sort of, like, when you want to see what someone's motives are for doing something, you want to see their point of view. And then that's when you start to realize, like, all of the worst people are the way that they are because they were so fucked up by
Total
something else.
Nurture. Vlad the Impaler, he grew up as a hostage.
He was
in the
raised by impalers.
Yeah. Well, he didn't
didn't
stand
have
a
a shot
chance.
in hell, you know?
Yeah.
he was a hostage in the Ottoman Empire, like until he was 17, because his father angered the Sultan, and that's what they did at that time. They would take people's kids, and it's Game of Thrones. And there's conflicting, recounts that, he was actually treated really well. He was educated, and some people say that he endured some kind of torture, but he had this like grudge regardless toward the Ottoman Empire, which definitely like facilitated his desire to get like vengeance and
Well, I don't know why
And
you
if you want to hear more, make sure you check out 30 Morbid
everyone's
Minutes.
like, I do not want to hear more.
Yeah.
No, I was like, she's giving all the way. She's giving
She's
the
giving, like, the
spoilers.
good
She's
stuff,
doing
yeah.
this podcast.
I guess
on
it
the
is kind of
podcast.
like spoilers. Yeah, we are giving all these spoilers. Should we be
Sure,
giving this away?
that's what real life doesn't have.
Should we be giving these spoilers?
Spoily
That's what I always love with
stuff.
movies where someone's like spoilers, and it's like it's a real fucking thing that happened.
Yeah.
Go look it up.
I know.
I don't know why you would hate the Ottoman Empire. That shit sounds comfy as hell.
Oh my god.
It's a
Yeah.
glass coffee table.
Yeah, and I'm putting it on Dan's
You gotta be
Akita
Those are
book.
Dan's
that,
books.
yeah.
Yeah.
We will be
Those are
right
Dan's
back
books.
with a couple of ad reads, and then
With a word from our sponsors.
and then we'll be back with 30 more Morbid Minutes.
Hey.
Those big wireless providers forget that families come in all shapes and sizes. And that's why Mint Mobile decided to shake up the wireless industry with their brand new modern family plan. Each line starts at $15 a month, and you only need 2 lines to get started. No matter how big or small your family is, you deserve to save on your wireless service. Mint Mobile rocks. John Smith has used Mint Mobile a bunch, and it constantly is telling me about how great it is. And if John Smith likes something, that's how you know he really likes it. Because there's a lot of stuff that he doesn't like, and very few things that he does like. Take that as one of the people from the first list. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers wireless for just $15 a month. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate, whether you're buying for yourself or for the entire family. And at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Plus, Mint Mobile's modern family plan lets you mix and match data plans so everyone gets the amount of data that's right for them. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with your existing contacts. What? That's crazy. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 $15 a month, including the Modern Family plan. Go to mintmobile.com/FHpod. That's mintmobile.com/FHpod. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/FHpod. And we're back. Thank you for
Everything. Can I put Lindsay on the spot?
Yeah.
I was just curious, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Because thank you for listening to all of our stuff. Is there anything that stood out to you? Any like little facts or tidbits or anything from like any of our podcasts? This is just, I always want you to gas us all up. But if you didn't, that's okay because
You only listen to your two podcasts.
we're in the information age where everything's coming at you
On
fast.
the Spot was a different podcast.
That's a show.
It's okay.
I wouldn't know.
Maybe it didn't. We'll cut this from the episode.
We don't cut these in. Laugh track.
Rick's goofing in the control room. There's a laugh track playing.
Do you like true crime? I never listened to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like loosely interested in it. Like I used to listen to before I really even got into listening to podcasts in general. I would listen to just one-off episodes of This American Life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I would love all the stuff that they cover. I really like listening to, but obviously the ones that are true crime are very interesting because it's like, wow, what happened? Suspense. But no, I mean, I will say I was listening to the grave robber ones yesterday and I was wanting more. I was like, where's the rest? You're like, and then we'll talk about this. And then you're like, we're out of time. And I was like, oh no. And I was listening to the Titanic episode, the conspiracy theories. So kind of went right into that one.
Yeah, that one's, I think, a little
gem.
closer in superstitions and stuff. We have not covered the Titanic yet.
No. But that was fun to listen to. And I've listened to some of the other ones. I've listened to Sleep Paralysis a little while ago. I have bad memory in general. So I go, ooh, interesting. And then I walk away going, well, I don't know what I listened to.
Patrick got a little upset with me with the sleep paralysis one. He came up to me after and he said, I have sleep paralysis.
Oh, because he has that.
I said, I didn't fucking know, Patrick. I don't know your whole goddamn life.
And this is how it happened.
This is how it happened. But then Ryan, recently, our own Ryan Haley, he recorded a little social media clip with me where he told me about his time as a Boy Scout spelunking.
Yeah, I did see that.
Because we did an episode about spelunking gone wrong, a fatal, and then but his story was, dare I say, anticlimactic.
Say it.
It was just, he talked about going spelunking in caves as a boy with his fellow
the boy
scouts.
Spelunker. Yes.
But he said that he got down into the cave and then this guy busted out his guitar and started playing a concert in the bottom of the cave because the acoustics were
Was there
really cool.
a frog on the log on the bump in the cave where the guy was playing the guitar?
I feel like that's Ryan as a time traveler.
You should talk to him about the cross creeper or whatever the person.
Oh, the Hex Cross Creeper?
What's it called?
Hex Cross Creeper?
Hex Cross
Is
Creeper.
that what it is?
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a plethora of information about people who are just creepers and then
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan was
they don't
creeped
steal
upon.
anything. They don't kidnap. They just come into your
Observe.
home. That's creepy.
Yeah, and then you
Hex
encounter
Cross
Ryan.
Peeping Toms.
Do you guys?
Not my Tom.
Are there topics that your listeners definitely want you to cover? Have you covered kind of those big ones already?
So,
Have you covered TM?
TM?
The TM cult?
Oh.
They're gonna come for me.
Transcendental meditation. We've covered it as sort of a general topic, but not fully. But
Yeah.
they've
Looks like
we
you
really
got your
haven't
guest.
hit. Yeah, I'd love to have you come on. We really haven't hit most of the big ones. We do the big ones as a spectacle. We've done Heaven's Gate, Children of God.
What do people request that
Manson.
you do? What's the number one thing you think?
Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, go on, Red Whip.
I was saying the cult of Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
Cover Red Whip.
Cover Red Web.
They a lot of people ask for just the big ones, the generic big ones. There's also a while back I was doing a series on Trump and sort of the cultiness behind a lot of his most
That one's really
devoted-
interesting. I've loved hearing you talk about that one.
I loved it, and a lot of it was we love to give historical context because I love history, and so we covered his grandfather being an illegal immigrant who came here, stole a business idea, and then did it poorly, and then cheated on his wife a whole bunch with sex workers, And then his dad, who was born from that, who was just like, you have to be perfect, and basically like killed his oldest son by just being a piece of shit. Because Donald Trump has a brother, Fred Jr., who was just like a great guy, and all he wanted to do was be a pilot, and his dad like drove him to drink and all this shit. Anyway, point is, we did like 5 episodes, and we were ramping up to like his run for like everything, and I was like, I had like 1 or 2 episodes left, and I was like, finally we can just like close out the Trump saga, and it'll be good, and and it'll be fine. And I finished that script set to record the next day on January 6th. And then, phone goes a buzzing because you have a couple
they can't
Google
arrest all
alerts.
of us.
Yeah. And
they can get out of you.
You just sort of like, people like ask for that, like to go back. And so that's what kind of sucks is sometimes we like to cover stuff that's more modern, but like shit doesn't come out fast, because the real juicy shit that you want to hear about is like prosecutors are holding that so that they can go after
we're
you.
still seeing new stuff come out about that. Every day it feels like a new Mr. Show cast member is implicated.
Yeah. We
Just the one, as far as I know.
we had way back in the day, one of our original co-hosts was a journalist, because I'm not one of the original founding members of the show. I came on to do audio work, and then they gave me a microphone, which is a mistake companies keep making, and then I stayed on the show. I thought you were shocked, but it was a yawn. But she was a journalist, and some dude hit us up and was like, hey, I have inside information about this like group that like says they're like a wellness program, but like they're doing some really fucked up shit, and I used to do some of their promo and accounting. It's run by this guy Keith Rainier, and like they're like doing some fucked up shit, and like we were like, okay, yeah, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm serious. Like this girl Allison Mack, who you might recognize from TV, like she's like branding people, like it's real fucked up. And we were like, okay, yeah, dude, if this was so fucked up, we would be able to like search it. And so she was married to like a government agent for some like detective thing, like he's in like the CIA or something, and like brought it, actually I think he was in the FBI, but like brought it to her husband and was like, is there any validity to this? And he was like, I'm gonna like, I'll take it, I'll go, whatever. And then came back and was like, don't talk to this guy, and also like don't mention this on the show because this is apparently like part of an ongoing investigation, and this is something that
Are they gonna come for us now?
No.
Oh, it's all.
Yeah, the
No,
lid
it's all
kinda
out
got
now.
blown
John
off.
Wilson has covered
Yeah.
it.
But we
With flying colors. What an incredible
great
episode.
episode.
Unbelievable.
we got all of this inside information that like before it had come out, and like just from random some dude who like shared all this information with us, and like we got it and we did the episode after they said it was good to do it, and since then more shit has come out.
What is this one? I don't know.
This
You
is
have a-
Nexium.
Oh, yeah, you never said
that.
They had that. There was that show on. Was it HBO?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a sex trafficking thing.
Yeah, this guy basically stole Scientology and rebranded it, and it was like a mix of Scientology and an MLM, where he would tell you he could better your life, and then you could get into a higher position within the group if you brought in 5 of your friends, and then they would get 5 of their friends. But then Allison Mack from Smallville was branding people within the cult, like with a hot iron, like on their ass and shit. And it was real fucked up. Also, that guy just in general is such a goober.
Yeah. He like plays like night volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
And
Night volleyball.
that was the thing that the biggest takeaway I got. I was like, people were like, yeah, he loved volleyball so much. It would be like 1 a.m. and he'd be like, we got to play volleyball. And I'm
I
like,
mean,
like
night volleyball
but
sounded cool until you said 1
He falls
a.m.
asleep
Yeah.
to Top Gun, that one scene every night.
Is there a topic that people, or I bet it's Titanic, right? That people
Well,
want
we
you
actually
to...
got a call from someone. They said, I'm on a cruise ship. It's sinking. Can you talk about it on the show?
Are you
and then
serious?
And then I hit someone up on the Coast Guard, and they were like, actually, don't talk about that. It's an ongoing cruise ship sinking.
This
No,
is
I
a
was
callback.
just
Oh, okay,
riffing. Yeah,
you're doing a goof.
I'm sorry,
All
I'm doing a
right.
goof, and I had to keep it going.
There was the
Elise is
carnival
actually
cruise that had got
such a goober.
one of
Yeah,
the
there
big
was a
burners
carnival.
caught
People,
fire.
I love when there's some sort of calamity with a cruise ship because everyone is tagging us. So the Carnival cruise ship caught on fire, and there was another one.
I saw that on TikTok.
Fire at a sea park? I always think of fire at water where it's like, it's a ship, it's on water.
Fire and Water. You should watch RRR.
Oh my God.
Have you seen it?
No,
Oh
no.
my God,
not
nobody's
yet.
seen
I know,
it.
I know.
Nobody's seen it.
No, I have to. I was
the best. If anyone out there enjoyed Everything Everywhere All at
You
Once,
gotta see
you gotta see RRR. It's an Indian action movie. It just came out. It fucking
My
rocks.
friends did like a screening a month ago, but I just couldn't. It was at 9 p.m. on the west side. I'm like, I can't do that for
It's
a
the
3-hour
best.
epic.
I gotta do night volleyball.
Night volleyball at
I mean,
one.
it's certain at around the 2-hour mark. You're like, whew, but then they holy
Ramps
hell
back
do they
up.
ramp it back. It's about friendship. But anyway,
Water and oil.
water and what?
Water and oil.
Water and oil.
It's gonna light on fire.
I want to isolate the part where you said, "I love every time there's a calamity," because that
Well,
really
I
tickled
do.
me.
I do because I think as humans we're drawn to things. We want to be where things are going to happen, whether we accept it or not.
Yeah.
Like Ariel.
California, what?
It's Ariel syndrome.
Aerial syndrome.
I want to be where the people are.
Well, there's literally
Dying on land.
Cruise ships on fire. And there was another one that crashed into a dock the other day. But the oft requested stuff that we've Edmund Fitzgerald was a big one. The Wreck of, as per Gordon Lightfoot. That was a very requested one, and Patrick being our what's the word I'm looking for?
Brown.
Resident Midwesterner.
Patrick.
Oh.
It's a Great Lakes sinking.
Ah.
It's very
Yeah, yeah,
famous. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
It was our season 1 finale, episode 8, and then Costa Concordia was also season 1. That was also really requested, and then we started this season with the Halifax explosion in World War II,
Yeah.
or was World War
World
One?
War, yeah, I think
It was World War One.
II.
And it was that one's nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were actually much more requested than the Titanic. I think because the Titanic has been such well-tread ground or water. Sorry, it's
Yeah, I think if you
a
take
nautical
like
nautical
a
joke. It's
different
very
approach
complex.
to it.
we're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. We're going to do it. And we've talked about how we want to approach it. We thought about doing it this next season. But, I mean, honestly, I would rather cover the stuff that not only the audience doesn't know about yet, but I don't know about yet. Because I love learning about this stuff. I'll get messages in the inbox or the Ship Hits Twitter account, and they're like, I'm so glad you mentioned X thing. And I'll just respond, I'm like, me too. I had no idea about it, because we're very, very upfront in saying that we are not professionals, which is great, because we have heard from doctoral students and naval architects and like people that get it and are professionals. And every time I get a message that's like, hi, I'm a professional sea researcher, I'm like, oh no, we're finished. Our number's been called. This is it for Ship Hits the Fan. And then it's usually it's like, hey, you have a really fun show. And sometimes they just offer clarifying information about like long and short tons, which relates to casks. It relates to wine. So I don't know. It's an interesting world, but yeah, I think, you know, we're just interested in calamity. That's why we all keep living here despite the big one.
Do you get a lot of people requesting specific, like, oh, cover this conspiracy or this creepy thing?
We do, like Paris catacombs is one that crops up. I would say also spontaneous human combustion, which was like something that we had even pitching the show thought about covering, and just there's just such a wealth of topics to cover. And I think I like to try to approach things too in an interesting or maybe way that you hadn't thought about as well. And like there's just so much. And for me, I think people are attracted to calamity, but I think something that is always in my brain working on the podcast is that I think that sometimes we as a society have such a stigma toward death. And I think that's what makes it alluring to, like, it's weird because also 120 years ago, there wasn't this stigma, right? It was a very prevalent thing.
Right.
And people had to address death head on. But now there's this stigma of like, you don't talk about your death. You don't think about it. And so I think that these feel like these untapped zones where like we're dipping one foot into something that feels very something we shouldn't be doing, even though like I think about death constantly. That's just me.
Constantly meditating on mortality.
And I also think that looking at tragedy, about how people respond to tragedy, how people respond to death is as much a study about human nature and living as it is a study of those things. And I think like also just the existential question of it all is really interesting, and how we interact with each other. Jess and I did an episode about near-death experiences, and I felt like her and I approached that from two very different mentalities, because she thinks a lot about what does this mean in terms of the afterlife, but my thinking is what's happening inside your brain when your brain is dying.
Physiological, chemical reaction that's happening.
And even to me, just in the microcosm of us making this episode, I'm like, oh, we just as two individuals think about this completely.
Yep.
We have crossover, but I think we're camped in two distinctly different places, and that's like fascinating to me too.
That's what I like about your show, is that it's so rooted in the practical and like real life, real world things that have happened, but it really like takes on that air of like superstition and the places our minds go.
I thank you. I do love, I love the supernatural. I love horror movies. I love the idea of ghosts existing, but I also really love the like trying to explain the who, what, where, when, why, and thinking, is there a reason for why this could be a possibility? What could we find a real life explanation for this?
Yeah.
Supernatural is cool, but I really only like the first couple seasons.
I think that
You watch the anime? Sorry, Lindsay.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I like listening to those kinds of podcasts, and I like yours because it is very much like, yeah, but it's probably just this, because there's people who get super into it and go, oh, but it's real and the thing moved on the shelf, and it to me, it's either there isn't a logical explanation for it and something did happen, or like you just made it up in your head. It's not real.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount the possibility that there are bigger and greater things.
I do want to discount.
We're
Ghosts
bags.
are fake.
We're bags of like meat with electricity flowing through us. Like there's
that's my at-home project.
And so I think it's like, there's the idea that we build microchips that are this small. It's like there are wild things that exist in this world, but
microchips.
I think like in a way like science is kind of magic.
The haunted microchip.
Yeah.
This sounds like we're making fun.
Yeah.
Oh, microchip! You get a load of her.
I just thought that's that would be such a funny.
No, you're absolutely right.
Like one day somebody's gonna write that story, and it's gonna be like the microchip that traveled from like every person's phone it was in, like they died. Like
that would be
written.
Goosebumps.
It's 100% like somebody's already written, like instead of terabyte, it's like
iPhone.
terrifying byte or something.
Yeah, or like microchip.
Like The Ring as a horror movie is like such a like stupid like
I hate that
VHS
movie.
tape, but it's such a good mystery, and it was genuinely scary.
Well, and like the way they did it is like super creepy with the girl and the fingernail and the bugs. It's like
but like the idea of like a VHS tape that you can get
watch.
at Blockbuster is gonna kill you.
I've always loved. This is a point from a while before. There's a great book that I recommend everyone should read. It's called On Death and Dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who is great. Was like a student of Ram Dass, who has interesting ideas and kind of run his own pseudo cult. But her point is that for a really long time, death was unavoidable, and so you just kind of like had to think about it. And now that we have such good medicine, death has become a slight against you. It has become doctors failing you or something attacking you. And also just from like a psychological standpoint, you can't process the idea of your own demise inherently. So to have your being end seems like somebody is doing something bad to you, even if it's natural causes.
Yeah. Your brain is specifically designed to protect you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then it should be smarter, but it's not. But there has been a rise of this macabre and true crime shit because it is so terrifying. And one of the things that it makes supernatural stuff so terrifying is like, even if you put in a lot of work to like come to terms with death, mortality, whatever, and also like actual work, like to become healthy and good and whatever. Like a guy can run up and stab you at any point, or
Not
even
me.
worse. Well, yeah,
She'll stab him first.
Sure, yeah, they'll stab me first. I'm a bigger target.
I've engaged in a long campaign of social engineering. No one's going to stab me.
Oh, I just thought you meant like you'd move like Neo around the knife.
No, I'm very slow.
Local YouTuber stabbed following campaign of long social engagement.
Oh
there-
no, content creator example of failed social engineering campaign. Long in the works.
One of the things that makes supernatural stuff so terrifying is that it doesn't matter how well you prepare and how much good stuff you do and whatever. Like there are things that you just can't explain. And that's one of the worst things about supernatural stuff is that there is like evidence of it. But because the mind is so fickle, like you were saying, the way that you process death versus how Jess processes death is so different. But like you can really, I don't know the best way to say it, but like a brain can really fucking be on one and see some shit. And like you can in grief see things that don't exist, or you can have issues and see things that don't exist and experience things differently. And like that shit is crazy.
I mean, I think that's why the Edmund Fitzgerald wreck has taken on so much mysticism,
water weight.
and water, because of the extremely high waves. Is because it just, for the longest time, just disappeared. It was sailing basically in tandem with another, not sailing, but sailing. I don't know if that's, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. There was constant regular communication back and forth, and it was a stormy night on the lake, and then it's just gone. It didn't arrive where it was going. And I think for the longest time that fueled so much speculation that like, because they weren't just gone. It wasn't like a death you could accept. It was open-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also as humanity, we want to think that we will learn from our past mistakes and then take that knowledge and prevent things from happening again. But we don't.
No.
We replicate the same things over and over again, the same mistakes.
That's one of the worst part about covering so many cults is that eventually, like when we started doing it, it was like, wow, this is so interesting. How could people believe this? And then you get 200 something episodes and you're in and you're just like, okay, so it's a little bit of theosophy mixed with like the esotericism and then like some old school Catholicism.
It's
just
very
the same
fun to be
shit.
a guest on Cult Podcast because they'll be like, you'll be like, what the hell? And they'll go, well, it's actually a mix of, and then they'll say 8 different 6-syllable words that all sound like they're from a different language. And then it's like, with a little psycho-mysticism dribbled on top. And you're like, of course.
But of course.
Yes, of course. I understand this.
I don't know fuck all about boat. We had
Neither do
Charlotte.
I.
We had Charlotte on Cult Podcast to talk about Blackbeard, and I did the research for that episode and was just like, reading that was so fucking difficult. As I assume it is for you too, whenever you're reading it, if you don't know shit about boat, because like somebody will be like, Edward Teach sent out 2 sloops, and you're like, of course.
Well, I played
sloop.
Sea of Thieves. So
Well, I haven't. Actually, that's not true. I played Sea of Thieves and threw up.
Yeah, you did throw up.
Yeah. And then I threw up on a real boat too. I throw up anytime I even think about the water.
I was on a boat with you. You didn't throw up.
I almost threw up. That's just true. I didn't throw up for most of it.
So you had it inside you all along, and then you kept it inside you. Just throw up.
Lindsay, what scares you?
This.
It's funny because you were just talking about like, your brain can be on one, and like that is one of my biggest fears is like that I will lose my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, Alzheimer's
used to-
is my number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be like, when I was like a teenager or young, and I was like, I'm scared of like dying alone. I was like, no, fuck that. I'm scared of like my mind being like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That shit.
terrifying.
Dementia and Alzheimer's is like the scariest thing to me.
That's my number. Yeah. Because I also think because so many people with beautiful brains can, be corrupted by it. And it's like,
Yeah.
So I have a question. One more question. So kind of doing your podcast about shipwrecks, does it make you like not want to go on big boats?
It makes me want to go on big boats even more.
Okay, because we're going to go on a cruise to Ensenada.
Okay.
Ensenada. Where's that?
It's like you go from Long Beach and you go.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
But I was just thinking that you
That
guys
sounds
should
fun. I was just on the Bainbridge ferry just a couple weeks ago. It was great. I enjoyed it so much.
Well, we did an episode about death on cruise ships, which stemmed from me.
Oh, yeah.
I read somewhere that morgues have or cruise ships have morgues too.
Oh
and
yeah, I
was
think
like,
I listened to some of that one.
I thought, what? It never occurred to me, but yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, I know someone that worked on cruise
But I
ships
want to
for
go on a
years.
cruise ship even less now. After
Well, I mean, that's the correct opinion.
I mean, yeah.
I like being on big boats. I'm not the biggest cruise person, just because I don't know.
Would you say you like big boats and you cannot lie?
Yeah, and
These
I don't
other
want
brothers
any
can't
of you to
deny.
deny. Yes, excuse me. Because
The
when a
ship
ship
hits-
comes in
The ship hits merch.
with the itty bitty mainsail
With the itty bitty bow.
and a big bow in your face,
Oh, y'all should at least be tweeting that out.
Sprung.
I want to pull out my tongue and lick the hole.
HULL.
Lindsay, does hearing about the ship disasters make you want to go on boats less?
No.
Yeah, I figured.
I mean, like boats, plane, everything. Sometimes stuff happens. And
Gotta
it's
live.
Like, you can't be. Yeah, you gotta live your life.
I mean, I'll be on a plane and it'll be at especially bad turbulence, and I'll go, "This could be it."
Yeah.
And I'm
of
like,
course.
"What am I gonna do about it?"
Yeah.
What am I? I just hope that when I die, I'm beautiful and people talk about me.
I think the first flight that I took after the pandemic started, when they didn't serve you booze, I had to get over my fear because I would be terrified and I'd be like, just liquor me up, come over here and bring the booze. And I'd be like, okay, I'm fine, like bumping around. And then the first flight, I was like, there's nothing. Okay. And I just had to get over it.
the only thing about flying that ever bothers me is landing and feeling like there's not enough runway.
Landing is the safest part of it.
It's
Is
the
it?
only thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'm like,
'cause-
I don't know what they're looking at. Is there enough runway? Or,
I think I'm fearful of landing after a bumpy ride and I go, oh, is everybody going to clap?
And then
Oh
the
my
social-
god!
When
You know
I
what?
was
I
Go
pretend
ahead.
to be asleep.
on Friday when we were flying, when I was finally flying back to Los Angeles, I think that's when it was. We were flying over the Rockies, and we hit really
mountain
bad
range.
turbulence. Some of the worst turbulence that I've ever hit,
can get
where
bad
they were
over
in
there.
the middle of giving out drinks, and then one of the flight crew came over and said something, and I heard them go, "Oh shit!" and they wheeled it back and immediately sat down, locked themselves in. They did the thing, and I was freaking out because I've never had turbulence that bad. And as it was happening, I was watching the new Scream, and it came across my mind as I don't want to die watching this bullshit.
Five Cream?
And so I switched it and started watching Uncut Gems instead. Just skip to the middle because if I'm gonna die, I want to watch a Safdie Brothers.
It's always great when a person in a position of they're an authority in this
Yeah.
realm. They go oh shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
That just happened on a Ship Hits the Fan episode we covered.
Oh.
Episode 2. Yeah, they talk about seeing the waiters drop trays and stuff,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
person who was witnessing was like, "That's when I kind of figured out something was wrong."
Yeah.
Because these people can just do anything.
Elise, give us a little taste of some of the upcoming episodes. Just what's some of the
Baby.
Give
Give
us
us
a little
30
more,
morbid seconds.
a little morbidity.
So right now we're in the middle of 4 episodes that we did where Jess and I each brought a different topic to the table. So the episode that just came out today, I talked about when and this is maybe 17th century, there used to be animal trials. So people would dress up a pig in clothing and then put him on the stand and then execute him in the streets because he bit someone. And Jess talks about how doctors write prescriptions and it's so illegible you can't read it.
Yeah.
My mom is a nurse. Yeah.
Oh, well, so 7,000 people die a year because of doctors poor scrawling of their penmanship.
Really?
Yeah. I'm currently working on an episode about death at Disney parks and trying to debunk some of the
And they have to take them underground and
Take 'em off the
carry 'em.
property. Is that true?
Do they though? You'll have to listen to the episode to know. And then
I would love to talk to you about that because I got some insider info for you.
Mine
I
died
need
at
it off-
Disneyland.
Yeah.
off the record. And then Vlad the Impaler, of course. And then also this season, I want to do an episode about cloning because I kind of fell down the rabbit hole. I knew that, people there was, of course, Dolly the sheep. And I knew that Dolly Parton clones her dogs and stuff. But then I fell down the rabbit hole of influencers that clone their dogs after they die. And I was like, this is
That's
fascinating.
fucking weird. dog.
Yeah. And we're also going to cover what else? There's so much. There's being buried alive.
That used to be a big fear of mine.
I am claustrophobic. I would not like that.
I would be scared, but at least the one thing that I'm reading Rick's notes on the.
And can I just say one more that I'm really excited about is an episode making an exorcist. Because I think we all know, we know about exorcisms, they happen, but I don't think people think enough about how does someone become an exorcist? What are the parameters, and how does what are the rules? And so
Both schools
it's
have
like
the
making
best
a murderer,
programs.
but making an exorcist. Yeah,
gotta-
the Vatican actually does.
BA and
I
exorcism.
would love to hear more about
Yeah.
that.
I got a book for you. We did an episode on that for Cult Podcast,
Oh, did you? Oh.
and we found a book that
Oh, yeah. I would
talks
love to-
about the process of becoming
Oh,
one.
I would love to read that.
I have a book I want to ask you about, but we
Yeah.
can do that off air.
The thing I was going to say about being buried alive, by the way, is I found out that you would probably die from suffocation before
Yeah.
you die from anything else.
Can we not?
Yeah.
Can we
Well,
not? Can we not finish the
Listen,
podcast on that?
listen to
Suffocation
30,
is one of the best ways to go out.
listen to 30 Morbid Minutes. You can get it early on Mondays if you're a first member. You
Yeah.
can listen to it on roosterteeth.com, or it comes out on Tuesdays on podcast platforms everywhere of your choice.
Charlotte, any big hitters for season 2 you want to sort of
Ship
flex on
hitters?
us?
Yeah,
Girl?
I mean, this comes out.
Next.
Yes.
Yeah.
So last week we released an episode that was a little bit different. It's about a person rather than a shipwreck. Jean de Clisson, who
Real son
was
of a ship.
of Brittany, and she single-handedly waged pirate warfare on France
Damn,
to
girl.
avenge her husband. Damn, Gene! It's so cool. It's one of the coolest episodes we ever did. Brian went off on the research and we just had a ton of fun with it. And it's been so long, it's kind of hard to tell what's tall tale, what's fact, and we acknowledge that. But it is sort of ship hits the fan story hour. And then the most recent episode that just came out that you could listen to today is about a Civil War submarine that the Confederacy created that was plagued by issues, but did find success. But I don't know. It's a really good episode. It's really funny. But yeah, it's and hey, I implore you, listen to the backlog.
Every
I wanna see those
Wednesday,
numbers.
right? New app.
Wednesdays on Rooster Teeth. Tuesdays on Rooster Teeth. Yes, every Wednesday, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. The park.
Anywhere.
Trains.
My podcast room.
The podcasting. Yeah, you're like an audiophile where you have a single pillar with a turntable on top of it and a pair of headphones.
Yeah.
And the
And it's
rest
got
of
that weird black foam all over the
yes,
wall.
yes, yeah.
We were researching Blackbeard when we had Charlotte on for Cole Podcast, which is we did a 3-episode series just because we were going to do it in 2, and then I found out about how that motherfucker died, and it's such a crazy story. It's fucking awesome. But you read, there's one source from the time about Blackbeard's life, and you'll read shit about it, and it sounds like this can't be true. This is
Yeah.
too legend
Or it's
bullshit.
biased or some shit.
And then you'll be reading about it, and they go, well, modern historians have decided that all of this is actually 100% factually accurate. Yes, of course. And so all the pirates kick ass and they're awesome people and you really want to get on their side. And they're like, yeah, they fought against governments and they took down other people and they were very accepting. And a lot of them made their money off of slavery. And then you're like, oh,
Yeah, you had me. You had me in the beginning.
Damn. I really want to cheer for Blackbeard, but I also
Problematic fave,
Yeah.
Blackbeard.
Well, is that the episode you'd recommend people listen to as an entry point then? Because it's got Charlotte.
The one with me on it?
Yeah,
it's a good one.
yeah.
We've got a lot. We've got 225 mainstay episodes out. So they're each an hour to 2 hours long. The ones that we always recommend are the ones on Heaven's Gate, which is crazy good research. We did an episode on the Chicago Rippers, which is my favorite. I went to Chicago for 2 weeks to research that, talk to a bunch of investigators. One guy who was a mainstay figure in the story who actually turned out to be a huge racist. And that's the episode where I got blocked by the lawyer who prosecuted John Wayne Gacy. But he did say that my theory on John Wayne Gacy's accomplice, because for sure that dude had an accomplice. By the way, just off top, John Wayne Gacy did not act alone. He had an accomplice with him.
Wayne John Gacy, maybe.
So I put together a bunch of evidence for
John Wayne
like
Pizza.
I put together a bunch of evidence for like this guy was the accomplice, and showed it to a bunch of people, and they all said that that was the most likely theory. So I'm fucking out here. Those two series are the best, I think, to start with, and then just really anything. There's not a fucking miss in the bunch. They're good. Lindsay, what do you want to promote?
If you were gonna make a podcast about the seedy side of reality television, do you know where you would start? The dark side. Have there been any deaths?
I don't know.
Television?
Maybe
Murders?
Probably.
What would you? Can you think of like a good
There was that
pun
one
off the
guy
top
that
of your
just got
head?
arrested.
Really?
Or that was a YouTuber guy. Never mind.
Local YouTuber arrested for stabbing other local YouTuber.
I think that's the podcast.
All right.
I just want to add, there's merch for all these podcasts too.
yeah.
Like cool shirts.
Well,
and
Stickers.
there's
merch for two of them.
Oh, you guys don't have merch?
We do have merch. We've gotten fucked by supply lines. We are like 11 months backed up.
The Ship Hits merch is some of
Beautiful.
my
Oh,
fave
it's great.
I love
right
the Ship
now.
Hits merch. The shirt's super comfortable and the hoodie rocks.
Hoodie's great.
Hopefully more to come. Buy it, so there will be definitely more to come.
Buy it.
Buy it.
Buy it.
Buy it.
Buy it.
Here's what we'll do. You buy a lot, and then you get 5 friends to buy your supply.
Whoa, hang on, Charlotte.
And they'll buy their own, and
Yeah.
then they'll get
Hang
5
on.
friends in turn.
I don't think that's appropriate. I think we do 10.
Reality
10,
bites
yeah.
the dust.
That's pretty great. Now, only 90s
pretty
kids
good.
know.
The end. The end.
Are you
Pizza,
sure
pizza.
it's branded?
Huh?
Are you sure it's branded?
Oh, this podcast ones.
Yeah.
Like that.
Like the Nexium
yeah.
thing.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
everybody. Thank you so much. Love you. Good night. Bye. Morning. Afternoon.